How many Pokemon are available in every Generation 8 game? Most Pokemon in Gen 8 are only available in 1 or 2 games, but not all of them. Last time we talked about how many Pokemon were removed from Gen 8, and now we're going to talk about the Pokemon that can freely move between each of the 5 Gen 8 titles. First, we need to define what we mean by available in this context. When we say a Pokemon is available in a game, we mean it's programmed into the game and we transfer it into it. For example, Mewtwo is available in Pokemon Gold and Silver. This is because it's programmed into the game and can be traded from Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, and Green, even though you can't catch it in Gold or Silver. However, Lugia is unavailable in Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, or Green. It can't be caught or transferred into these games because it isn't programmed into these games at all. It's also important to note that when we say a Pokemon is available in Pokemon Sword and Shield, this will also include its expansion pass, the Isle of Armor, and the Crown Tundra. Some Pokemon weren't available when Sword and Shield first came out, but they came back when the DLC was released. For our purposes, we're going to count them as available in Sword and Shield. This is still the case even if a copy didn't purchase the DLC, because they were added back into the code when the DLC was released. Now that we know the rules, which Pokemon do you think will be on the list? Take your guesses in the comments, drink some water, do your stretches, and let's get started. The first Pokemon we have is none other than the game's mascot, Pikachu. As a result, both Pichu and Raichu are available as well. Since we mentioned Pichu, let's quickly talk about how we're going to present each Pokemon family. We're going to go in Pokedex order, but if a Pokemon has a cross-gen evolution, such as Pikachu and Pichu, all of those Pokemon are going to be mentioned at once. Then, at the end of each generation, we'll talk about how many Pokemon from the generation are available in all Gen 8 games. Finally, we'll quickly talk about how many of these Pokemon have an evolution family member from another generation. We're also going to bring up Pokemon that are in cross-gen evolution lines, but are still excluded from our list, such as Alolan Raichu. While Raichu itself is available in every Gen 8 game, Alolan Raichu isn't available in Pokemon Legends Arceus or Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Spoiler alert, most regional forms aren't going to be mentioned because Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl don't have any at all. Okay, where were we? Following Pikachu and friends, we have Clefairy, Clefable, and Cleffa, as well as Vulpix and Ninetales. Notably, Vulpix and Ninetales have regional variants that are available in both Sword and Shield and Pokemon Legends Arceus. This is unusual since most of the regional forms in Legends Arceus are Hisuian forms, but the Vulpix and Ninetales you can get are the Alolan forms. Not that it matters, since Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl don't have regional forms, so the Alolan Vulpix line will stay in their icy prison. After these two, we have some normal Pokemon with no excluded forms. Zubat, Golbat, and their Gen 2 evolution Crobat, along with Psyduck, Golduck, Abra, Kadabra, Alakazam, Machop, Machoke, Machamp, Tentacool, and Tentacruel. Immediately following them are the Cantonian forms of Ponyta and Rapidash. Their Galarian forms can only be found in Pokemon Sword and Shield, and nowhere else. No, like, literally, they haven't been in any game since 2019. Next up, we have Magnemite, Magneton, Magnezone, Ghastly, Haunter, Gengar, Onix, Steelix, Lickitung, Licky, Rhyhorn, Rhydon, Rhyperior, Chansey, Happiny, Blissey, Tangela, and Tangrowth. As you can tell, a lot of Pokemon from Gen 1 have an evolution from another generation, and the next one has the biggest divide between them. Mr. Mime is available, as well as its baby form, Mime Jr. But Galarian Mr. Mime is unavailable in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl and Pokemon Legends Arceus. Galarian Mr. Mime also has an evolution, Mr. Rhyme. And Mr. Rhyme can only evolve from Galarian Mr. Mime. This means not only is the regional form unavailable in 3 out of the 5 games, but so is its regional evolution. That makes sense since Mr. Rhyme debuted in Sword and Shield, but BDSP only includes Pokemon up to Gen 4. Scyther also follows this pattern in a slightly different way. Scyther and its evolution, Scizor, are available in every Generation 8 game. However, Kleavor is a Generation 8 Pokemon, just like Mr. Rhyme. Kleavor debuted in Pokemon Legends Arceus, so it's not available in any game that released before it, including Sword and Shield. Continuing through Gen 1, we have two of the most famous cross-gen families. Electabuzz, with Elekid and Electivire, and Magmar with Magby and Magmortar. Then there's Magikarp and Gyarados, who are so well known, it's really no surprise they're included. Speaking of well-known Pokemon, Eevee is naturally available in each Generation 8 game. That includes its evolutions, Vaporeon, Jolteon, Flareon, Espeon, Umbreon, Leafeon, Glaceon, and that's it. Yeah. Sylveon isn't here. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are remakes of Gen 4, and Sylveon didn't exist until Gen 6, so it's not programmed into these games. I guess fairies aren't real after all. Lastly, we have Porygon, Porygon 2, Porygon Z, Snorlax, and Munchlax. Snorlax is the last Pokemon that debuted in Red and Blue that's also included in every Generation 8 game. It's worth pointing out that every Pokemon currently on screen is not only available in all Generation 8 games, they're available in every single main series Pokemon game since the franchise began in the 1990s. Before we move on to Gen 2, here's some more fun facts related to the list. Pokemon Legends Arceus is the first core series game to exclude the Kanto starters Mewtwo, Mew, and the legendary birds. I'll repeat that. For the first time ever, these Pokemon are not coded in a main series game at all. Pokemon Legends Arceus is also the first core series Pokemon game where you can't get Ditto. That also means it's the first core series Pokemon game to feature baby Pokemon like Pikachu, but not Ditto or breeding. And as you likely didn't notice, a large portion of these Pokemon have an evolution from another generation. In total, 24 out of the 43 Generation 1 Pokemon are related to another Pokemon from another generation. Quick note as we move into Gen 2, I'm not going to repeat the Pokemon that we already mentioned with their families in prior generations, but just for reference, these Pokemon are included in Gen 2's total. Along with these 11 Pokemon, we also start off with some famous Johto natives: Togepi, Togetic, and Sudowoodo. Naturally, that includes their Gen 4 family members, Togekiss and Bonsly. Up next, we have Heracross and Sneasel. Yes, Johtonian Sneasel is included even though Sneasel has a Hisuian form in Pokemon Legends Arceus. In most Pokemon games, this doesn't really matter, because Pokemon with multiple forms usually include all of its forms in the same game, even if only one of them can be found. For example, Meowth's Alolan form is programmed into Sword and Shield, even though you can't find it there. But Pokemon Legends Arceus decided to exclude any forms that you can't find in the game, and they're not programmed into the game at all. So while Hisuian Typhlosion is available, Johtonian Typhlosion is not, even though its prior evolutions are. That's not the case with Sneasel, and there's a good reason why. Pokemon Legends Arceus brought back every Pokemon that debuted in Diamond and Pearl, and that includes Sneasel's evolution, Weavile. They likely wanted to include the original evolution so you could obtain Weavile in Pokemon Legends Arceus, like you did in Diamond and Pearl. But they also wanted to include Sneasel's new form, so they just said, why not both? And left it at that. However, unlike Alolan, Vulpix, and Ninetales, Hisuian Sneasel can't be found in other Gen 8 games, and neither can its regional evolution, Sneasler. And that was a really long way to say that both the original Sneasel and Weavile are available in all Gen 8 games. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Our last batch of Johto Pokemon includes Swinub, Piloswine, Remoraid, Octillery, and Mantine. And of course, that also includes the Gen 4 family members, Mamoswine and Mantine. Mantine is the last Johto Pokemon available in all Gen 8 games that we haven't discussed already, but in Pokédex order, the last Johto Pokemon would actually be Blissey. 18 out of these 26 Gen 2 Pokemon are related to Pokemon from another generation, which makes sense because that's pretty much what Gen 2 is known for. Now we're on to Gen 3. Unlike the Pokemon mentioned so far, none of the Pokemon here have a cross-gen evolution from Gen 1 or Gen 2. We'll speedrun this section because honestly, it's the shortest one. Ready? Here we go. Ralts, Kirlia, Gardevoir, and Gen 4 evolution Galate, Roselia, and Gen 4 members Badoo and Roserade, Arbok, Wishcash, Duskull, Dusclops, and Gen 4 evolution Dusknoir, Snorunt, Gallade, and Gen 4 evolution Frostlass, Steel, Celio, and Walrein. Walrein is the last Pokemon in Pokedex order that debuted in Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire that is also available in all 5 Gen 8 games. Although this section has no Gen 1 or Gen 2 cross-gen evolutions, 8 out of the 13 Gen 3 Pokemon are related to Gen 4 Pokemon. If you were looking for this is the most random Pokemon to be in every Gen 8 game collection, this is it. The rest of the Pokemon you'll see here are from Gen 4, and as you probably didn't guess, there's a lot of them. And that's not including the ones we already covered, which are these guys. We start off with Shinx, Luxio, Luxray, Combee, Vespiquen, Cherubi, and the spawn of Satan. Then we have Shellos and Gastrodon. Both forms of each are available in all Gen 8 games, but only the East form is catchable in Sword and Shield. I'm not sure why, but I'm not going to question it. Drifloon and Drifblim are next, closely followed by Bunnery and Lopunny because of course they. Then there's Stunky, Skuntank, Bronzor, Bronzong, and Spiritomb. Spiritomb is notable because even though you can catch it in all 5 of the Gen 8 games, it'll take all of your time and sanity just to get one. Gible, Gabite, Garchomp, Riolu, and Lucario are also in every Gen 8 game. I don't think anyone's really surprised by that, since all of them are really popular, especially Lucario. But Gible and friends are the only pseudo-legends that managed to make the list. After them we have Hippopotas, Hippowdon, Skorupi, Drapion, Snover, and Abomasnow. But who cares about them when we have Rotom and all of its forms? Yes, Rotom's form, even though Legends Arceus takes place in the past, you can have your modern-day refrigerator fight God. This game is amazing. We finish up with a handful of legendary Pokemon. Before we name them, take your guesses in the comments. I'll give you a hint. There's 9 of them. Ready? Here we go. 1. Uxie. 2. Mesprit. 3. Azelf. 4. Dialga. 5. Palkia. 6. Giratina. 7. Heatran. 8. Regigigas. And 9. Cresselia. That's right! Arceus is not on the list. It's available in Legends Arceus, it's available in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, but it's not available in Sword and Shield. Does it make sense? No! It's literally influenced half of this list, and yet it doesn't count. There's some more fun facts about this list before we go over the final numbers. The Gen 4 legends mentioned here are the only legendaries that appear in all Gen 8 games, meaning they're both available and catchable in each. Pokemon Legends Arceus is once again the first core series game where Regigigas is programmed into the game, but its trio is not. I guess you can also include Regieleki and Regidrago since they're in Sword and Shield, but not the others. As we mentioned before, Gen 4 has the most Pokemon on this list because 3 of its 5 games are dedicated to its region. And, finally, out of all Gen 4 Pokemon available in all Gen 8 games, 21 out of 39 have a family member in another generation. Now for the final stats. Total Pokemon available in all Gen 8 games, 121 out of 905, since we're using Gen 8's Pokedex. Starters, 10 out of 121, which are just Pikachu, Eevee, and their available family members. Really just everything except Sylveon. When you go with traditional starters, we have 0. Legendaries, we have 9. Regional forms, we have 0, although we came so close with Alolan Vulpix and Ninetales. And Pokemon with cross-gen evolution family members, 71 out of 121 Pokemon, which is almost 60%. And there you have it. Feel free to comment the Pokemon that surprised you, or the ones you thought would be on the list, but weren't. Also, here's another video you might like. Like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time.